for me, that's one of the biggest things that I teach my staff, and is providing them customer service, sitting down and listening, like you said, and giving them the extra experience, because they will remember that.
So at time we might not see and we get blinded by other things that already happened that not can be changed. But we have the tools right now to encourage and inspire other people to do great things. Alrighty, welcome to a multifamily of the cuff, and this is gonna be episode number 15, correct? Awesome. Today we have a special guest, Aisha. Welcome. Thank you for accepting the invitation for our podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
We've been blessed and looking forward to keep adding information and bringing the best speakers to the show. And the show is dedicated to everyone that is involved with the multifamily. So to get started, I just want to introduce you, and if you can speak to our audience, and then let them know a little bit more about you.
Okay. So, hi, my name is Aisha Price. I've been in multifamily housing for 21 years,
Wow.
and I started off as a part-time leasing agent and have grown in the ranks in the last 21 years. My majority of my business that I've been in is HUD housing, and then I went into Section 8, project-based Section 8, as well as the tax credit income communities. For me, this is something that I love and enjoy with a passion, and I wouldn't do anything else. I'm a regional manager now, and so that was my stepping growth of where I wanted to be, and now my next step is to try to become an RVP.
Okay, perfect. Let me ask you, and then through the 21 years, you said, right? You started off as,
A leasing agent.
okay, and you've been through many management companies?
I've been through 4 management companies in total.
Wow, okay. So you're very stable
Yes.
when it comes to, oh, perfect.
I don't like jumping around.
Definitely not, I can see that. Now, let me ask you, through the 4 management companies that you had the chance to see, what will be the main difference that you see between one another?
The main difference, honestly, is how the operations are ran.
Okay.
The training, what is provided to the team members. And when I say the operations, I mean how they handle the communities, how they handle the financials, who they go through, if it goes through the regional manager, if it goes through the property manager, and what functions are established on a day-to-day operations.
Okay.
But those are the main differences that you would see between the companies. The training aspect, everybody has different training programs. Some are better than others. But for me, I believe that the training program is one of the most essential parts for any organization that you have, and then also being organized.
Perfect. You know that I was honored. I was called by one of your colleagues last week, Thursday. I had the chance to meet Marixa,
Yes.
uh, part of your HR department. I happened to be there about 10, 15 minutes earlier, and I was blown away with her speech. I only have just a grasp of what she was saying, but it was enough for me to understand the culture of the company that you represent. Um, for me, as well as business owner, we always look for and partner up with companies that we can align with, and especially when you guys care about people. I was very, very blown away because the more she kept repeating, and this is something that a lot of company they just lack of keep injecting in their own people. You know, it needs to be reminded that what we do here is for the people.
Yes.
We provide housing for many families out there, right? So we have a huge responsibility to make this process as easy. Um, um, Harmony, you have to be some empathy, when it comes to all this understanding, being patient. But a lot of it is the empathy, right? Because we don't understand. We have to understand where every time somebody's moving to an apartment, there's a reason behind it. This is how I see it.
Yes, that's true.
It's always something major. It can be their first apartment in their life, their first apartment after graduation, their first apartment when they first got married, even the first apartment after being divorced. It's just so many things coming from another country. This is the first house. So we have a responsibility, So when we speak, and if I want to tell you something, let me just say, a car dealership. When I mentioned that, most people will cringe like a little, like, oh my God, this is just it's painful, when you're gonna
Yeah.
buy a car, and you're gonna be locked up in a dealership for hours, and you see people just walking around and you just sitting there, and but we understand that when you're gonna buy a car, it's a hassle process, and then for the multifamily, we definitely don't want it to be or feel that way
Correct.
because of what they are actually doing. And we have the chance to make the experience beautiful. So, what do you think, or right now, and I know I have sent you questions, but
It's
this is
okay.
a cheap one. Um, what do you think that how you have handled this type of process when it comes to helping families to make sure that the whole process is the best one they can get?
I think for me, being on a regional manager side now is really giving my managers the tools to be able to provide the homes and actually be able to give the customer service to the people that walk into the door. Not just sitting and talking to them and saying, okay, here's the information that we have for an apartment and you can be on your happy merry way. It's sitting down with them and finding out the reasons why they're moving. What are they looking for? How much can they spend? Because that property may not be fit for them, but there may be a property that's local to our community that may be able to suit their needs. Also, not just locating just a property within our communities or our company, but also companies that may be outside of our area as well. For me, that's one of the biggest things that I teach my staff, and is providing them customer service, sitting down and listening, like you said, and giving them the extra experience because they will remember that. They'll remember that, and they'll send you people along the way that say, "Hey, I've dealt with this person. They were fantastic. They can help you too." And they may have never rented with you. They only saw you that 5 minutes. And that makes a huge difference. And that's what we really try to show our team members is that customer service is the biggest thing for our industry. So I see that a lot. And as far as your experience, like you said, same thing with the car sales. I just recently went through it and I had the worst experience. Same owner in a different dealership I've gone through normally, didn't have my vehicle, wonderful staff. But in the other location, it was very different.
You know that last week we interviewed a leasing agent first time, and she had a really good point. Is to hire people with heart.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that right now that we all facing is that we post, we trying to recruit, and then pretty much we get into the point where we just hire whoever actually shows up. Right now, our standard has dropped drastically to where we don't have options anymore. It's just whoever shows up, we might have to try to do the best we can with the person that's coming, right? And it's no longer the same like it used to be. So we had to come up with new ways to implement and because like my the VP of the company, she says a lot that we cannot teach people how to care. That's something that you're born with, you
Yes.
know. So we can teach them multifamily, we can teach them customer service, but the caring for others, that's something that it is impossible sometimes to teach.
Correct.
However, it can be adopted if the person is open to synchronize with a culture. Even if a person is not as caring, but if they come into your organization and they see everyone, caring for others, that person might sync with it. It's something that can be that you can change into. Just like I don't know if you have heard the saying that it takes 21 days to create a habit. It kind of the same thing. So it's very important for me to have a good culture. That what I just said earlier, that I was blown away when I had the chance to listen to that, and they have you had the team. I think there were like 22 people, and I wasn't as um, nervous that time. I was my confidence was all over to the roof, and the reason is because I piggyback into her story. So everyone was already fired up with what she was saying, and then the introduction of Deborah was amazing. When she was also blown away when I shared my story with you guys,
Yes.
and then I was able to tell everybody also the story of of how what we've done with the company. And then, thanks God, there were people there that were already using our services. They were able to back up, what we were talking about when it comes to service. And one of the things was changing the perspective of our team when it comes to apartments. And it took me a minute to understand everything that I've gone through ever since I became a business owner is um, I have changed and learned, and this time was the perception of things. So we used to focus so much on an apartment that was left dirty or unattended, and then we used to be like, oh my God, this person was so dirty, and this person used to this and was that. But see, that was wrong because we were focusing on something that cannot be changed. It's already done, right? So, but what we did is change the perception of let's do this for the next person coming in. Now we have not only job security because someone left it dirty, but also we have the chance to clean it, make it pristine, so the next family can enjoy it.
Exactly.
And then ever since we started sharing a new perception of how to look at things, then our team was like, you know what? This is the right thing to do now, and now they're doing it with a purpose for somebody else instead of cleaning up for the people that are already gone. So I believe that perception of how we can look at things is important. And then, but then again, that's something that if we could keep teaching to our people, then that's something that we create as a culture in a company. So I'm super happy that I had a chance to see Marixa, to speak about about the culture of the company that you represent. And I definitely now more than ever, I know that both companies can definitely do great things together.
And Marisa, I would say, for me, she's really a big point in our organization, along with all the other major supporters that we have in upper management. But she's always there. She's the VP or she's the president of HR, and she's always there, always there for you. You can call. It doesn't matter if it's an employee that's a leasing agent, a porter, anyone. They can pick up the phone, and her door's always open.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly
amazing. And you don't find that commonly in any organization where they have the door shut and they tell you you have to go through the chain of command. You don't find that here. And for me, that's the biggest thing because our employees feel comfortable and they know that they can go somewhere and speak to someone and not feel like they're being retaliated on. And that's major. That's honestly major.
That was huge. I was happy to and honored that I was able to see and experience that for sure. So Aisha, I have shared with you some questions and more related into, I mean, everything what we're talking right now is perfect for our audience. They like to hear and understand the business and how it works and what's behind the scene and many property management. Um, so, in one of the questions that I sent over to you, the first one goes like this: out of all the services that's being provided to the multifamily, which one do you think is the most difficult one to deal with?
And that was very easy for me.
Okay.
Honestly, it was very easy for me. It's always honestly the painting and cleaning.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
The biggest struggles that we have is that when we get painters on property, they come to a property and let's say there's holes in the walls or, there's, major damage to the apartment. We get a painter that comes on site, they paint, but they don't patch the walls. So then we have to go back to the actual vendor and say, hey, they didn't do the repair work that needs to be done. Oh, well, we have somebody else that does that. So there's no one person that really knows how to do the whole entire job or everything that entails to do the job. So they have a painter, then they have somebody that does the patchwork, then they have somebody that comes and does the ceiling repair. So now we're spending more time and trying to get one job done in 5 day time, and it takes us more time, and we're losing money and income coming into the community. And the same thing with the cleaning process. There's standards that every company has, and those standards are told to the vendors, and this is what our expectations are. And when we go and we walk with the cleaners, they don't meet the standards that are required. So now we have to wait 3 to 4 days before the vendor can come back and clean, because they have a schedule, just like in housekeeping with a hotel. They have 10 units to do in one day. And then you're like, okay, well, now I'm waiting 3 extra days to clean this apartment. So that for me is the biggest challenge that we suffer in our organization, and not just in our company, but any organization that you see.
Across the board. Um, when I first started the company, I have taken a regional manager to lunch. She interrupted me and picked up the phone, and then she went off um, with the property manager because the same situation, cleaning and painting. That was my aha moment. I used to work for another company, and she was so frustrated, and I will never forget her face. And then when she hung up the phone, not only that I have asked the server to bring 2 drinks because she needed one, I said why, and exactly the same thing you said. What I did at the time was I wrote down everything that she was frustrated with, and then I solved everything on paper, and then we brought it to life. But I do, however, want to share a few things. When it comes to, let's talk about cleaning in particular, um, we are experiencing 220% turnover of people. And there is a problem when it comes to cleaning. And this is just a cleaning across the board. I found out recently that it has to do also with some psychological portion of saying that I'm a cleaner. Okay, so people rather say I work for Amazon or they do some sort of delivery than to say I'm a cleaner. So especially mothers when they're talking to their kids and kids come and say, "Mom, what do you do for a living?" And they have to say that they're cleaners. There is something within themselves, an ego, that they don't like saying that. We even took it so far up and we changed the name of cleaner and we call them pristine specialists. So they can even tell their kids that, we're a pristine specialist. And then when they ask, what is it? We just make houses look prettier or pristine. And then we do certificates so the mothers can go home and then show it to their kids so they can see some sort of that they're proud of their mother, because we have to understand what some of their problems are. But then also, um, the multifamily is a whole niche on its own. It's so different than anything out there. Okay,
It is.
it's a fast pace. It demands like right now or no, I cannot do it. I mean, it's just very unique.
Yes.
You see, there is commercial, there is government, there is healthcare, and residential. But multifamily is so unique. Okay, so one thing that multifamily provides to vendors is volume, tons of work, tons of work. So anybody that has to jump into multifamily has to make sure they have a few things in place: manpower, and then cash flow.
Yes.
Because not only that you have to work so much, then you have to wait for payment.
Yes.
45 days, 60 days, 90, 120, 140, you know, and this is a reality. But then again, you have volume, you have so much work, but then you pay the lease. So a residential pays 3 times more for the same 3-2 on a 3-2 house or a 3-2 apartment. So residential pays 3 times more, and then you get paid on residential upon completion. So the owner is going to write you a check the second you're done with it, right? And this one, you have to wait 60 days. So that process eliminates about, let's just say in Tampa Bay, 20 companies from the cleaning that will not do services for multifamily because they will not wait. They don't care about it. They think this is the worst thing ever. Meanwhile, crazy people like us say, we will not do anything but multifamily, right?
Yes.
So, in trying to do the best we can with the little that we get, but completely understand where they come from and trying to educate both sides. And we're talking right now to vendors. You need to understand how the management work. Fast pace. You cannot tell a property manager, oh well, you have to now wait 3 days. 3 days for you, on average, is about $120 a day.
Yes.
That's $360 of loss right there, right? But if we don't teach the vendor side what that means, they don't know,
Correct.
you know?
And I think for me also, um, and it falls in both hands because the management side, I know with me, I sit down with my vendors, and I mean, I've talked to you several times, and I'm like, here's my expectations. This is what I expect from my vendors as they come onto my communities. And a lot of the vendors that I have been with me for years.
Awesome.
So they know what my expectations are. They know what I'm looking for. But it's because I've set that precedence from the day that they started with me. And I ask my managers to do the same thing. Don't just let the vendor walk away. Have them walk with you. Show them what's wrong. Again, we still have the struggles of we have to wait 2 to 3 days for somebody to come back, or we have to wait for somebody to come do the patchwork. But if you truly set the tone with both organizations, the vendor and the multifamily housing corporation, it's so much easier to work together. And that's where I think the gap is missing, is where it's truly trying to understand what the expectations are from the vendor and then the expectations from the vendor to the multifamily housing.
You remember this last event that we went to for a business exchange? I had I had a conversation with another, and I said, when we're doing business, and the first question was, well, you have to bring your prices down. I said, no, I will never. And I actually said to this person, and you're part of the problem. Because you understand that when you do that, the person that suffers is the person that actually is doing the work. And her response was, well, the investors don't care about that. And I think she's wrong. When I had the chance to meet, investors and owners, they're very caring. They're caring for their people. They're caring for, they have money. They have, these assets that are, millions of dollars, and they do care for their people. They care about how it's being run because it's their name behind it. And for the most part, a lot of them have done so good for them to be able to hold those positions, right? So I don't think it was the investor. I think it was this particular person. But that's one of the things that I will never do because I'm not going to jeopardize the people. And again, this is when you and I, align. It's about the people. So what if I have, if I was in her shoes, Fernando, I really appreciate you caring for the people. Let me stand up for them, and I will talk to the owners, to make it happen because I see that you care for other people, which I would love to see cleaners or painters making more on a living wage, portion instead of trying to nickel and dime as much as they can for more bonuses. That I believe that's probably what it comes down to. So, but again, us, like you said, setting the tone, and coming to a new organization, we will say, this is our prices. They're non-negotiable. However, we can meet your expectation based on what you want because you said time is money. If you find somebody that is $20 cheaper, but it's going to make you wait 3 days, now it's not $20 cheaper. Now it's $360 more expensive.
And I'd rather pay a little bit more for a service than have non-quality work and then versus quality work. I would rather have to come to you one time and say, here's what I need, here's how I want it, this is what I'm looking for when it comes to cleaning, painting, punching, whatever we're doing, whether it's contracting work. I want to say it one time and at least have the job done the first time. We may mess up somewhere.
Right.
It happens. We can't get upset, but also know that when we mess up, we correct it immediately. Right. It's not just a waiting period of, okay, now we have to wait again. And honestly, that's what really brought me into you, is like, this is what I want and what I'm looking for. And even my boss said the same thing. He's like, this is what we need, because we do struggle. And it's not just our organization, it's others too.
But, and then this is beautiful. What we're sharing here is closing the gap again, for the purpose of the podcast. This when another manager, another regional is listening to this, is to understand, like I represent the vendor side, and I tell them, okay, you need to understand how it works. And I did my the diligence to understand from the person that owns the building all the way down to the porter. I know how the money goes, everyone's position, responsibilities, who makes decision based on the amount of money depending on what it is. So, and I tell everybody, you need to understand where you stand if you want to provide a service. There's money flowing from the renters all the way up to the owner's pocket. You need to find out where you're going to plug into that pipe, plug yourself in, but in order for you to stay, you need to solve a problem that's happening, okay? But for order to you to solve the problem, you need to speak their language. When somebody walks into an office and they say, apartment complex, and you go like, oh, you don't say that here. So you
That's
already
true.
know
Yeah.
that person is knowing the industry, right? There's so many red flags, let's just call it red flag,
Yeah.
when someone walks in on a Monday, on the second, like today, they're gonna be walking into the office and then asking for, to talk to the manager, and you already know this person doesn't know that you don't show up in the first 3 days of the month.
Exactly.
It's just an apartment complex. They say units or whatever the case is. There's certain things that when somebody's not in the industry, you already know.
Yeah.
They already have a sign. So this podcast helps, to teach people how to act, how to behave, what to say, when to show up, what kind of problems. When I ask you, right now, there's gonna be tons of people, across the United States, maybe looking into the cleaning, into the painting, and they want to actually try to solve issues in their regions, in the cities, based on this podcast. Okay, so let's help them out. So, coming up to another question, in your opinion, what are the struggles that are affecting the industry right now, and how do you think they can be solved?
For me, I would say hiring the right people. It's so hard right now, especially this day and age with everything that's happened in the last 2 years that has really changed the mindset on what jobs people are looking for and what they're willing to do. The standards haven't changed for what multifamily housing has, provided over the years, even any other organization. But the standards of the people have changed. And that's been the hardest part, to really bring in people that want to and love to do what they do. Again, I've done this for 21 years. I love it. There's people that I work with that they're like, okay, I'm only here because I want a paycheck. And I tell my team, I'm like, if you're only here to get a paycheck, go on another bus, because I don't want that bus.
Bravo.
I want you to love what you do and be here and be supportive of everything that I'm there to help you with. You don't have to love every idea that I have, but our table's open, just like at Marisa. Same thing. If they have an idea, we talk about it as a team. We figure out the pros and cons, and we bring it together, and we say, okay, this is how we can make it work. That's how my team has been with me for so long. The time that I've been there, they've been with me for 3 years. I've lost very few employees because of that. But honestly, the biggest struggle has been just hiring the right people. And I think for for our organization, whether it be a vendor or a property management company, we need to start looking outside the box. Start going to the community colleges. Start going to the high schools. Letting them know what the industry is about, what we need to do to help them grow, where they can go, because we're missing that. We're missing that little touch to bring those people in. They don't know what we do. You don't really hear about property management when you're in high school. You hear about accounting, you hear about lawyer,
Right.
doctor. You don't hear about any of that. Like you said, somebody that's called a pristine service coordinator, it yeah, they may be looking at them as a cleaner, but for you, it's something completely different. And so we have to close that circle and show them, this is a great industry to be in. You have the longevity, or you have the capability of having a good career in this industry. And it doesn't matter what you do, but just really going outside the box and attacking the people that we know we can actually bring in that are babies, and teaching them and helping them grow.
I am
It's like a
happy,
plant.
right? And I'm very happy that some community college have adapted, program for property management, and I'm super grateful for that because we need new talent. But also, when it comes to new talent, or when it comes to hiring or getting those people that care, I noticed that I was listening to another podcast recently, and the guy is share experience. He stayed at the Four Seasons Hotel, and noticed, this guy that was so amazing. He was like a Superman. He was all over, but he was providing everything he could for all the guests coming into the Four Seasons. Unfortunately, the guy has financial struggles, and he needed also to find another job, in which he was at another hotel as well. But he couldn't perform the same at the other place that he was at, because of the culture, because of how he was treated, because he didn't feel the care for the actual organization. He wasn't giving his best at the other one. as much as he was doing at the Four Seasons. So one of the things he said is that every manager, not his manager, but every manager will stop by whatever he was doing, or any manager just ask him, "How are you doing? Is there anything I can do to make your life better, or to make your day better, or your job better?" So he noticed that every person, above him was caring for his well-being. Meanwhile, the other company that he was working for didn't. So I have adopted some similarities on that. And when we hire or we bring somebody on board, we don't care where they come from. I never ask them for a resume. A resume only tells me where they've been. So they don't tell me if they have read a book, they have listened to a podcast, if they have just decided to go to church now and then become better people. So I always open the door for anybody until they show me different. So based on our culture, I'm sure that anybody can just jump in and synchronize with us and then do great. Meanwhile, if I have call a reference, let's say the last employer, they might say the worst thing for this person. But that can be a reflection of management.
Yes.
See what I mean?
Yes.
So if you try to bring somebody, a new manager, and you call the other employer, and they say so many bad things about this person, but that was a reflection. But now that person can come on board with you and be a rock star. So at times we might not see, and we get blinded by other things that already happened that now can be changed. But we have the tools right now to encourage and inspire other people to do great things.
Right. And I've experienced that. And not saying myself, but where, like you said, some people just don't do right under that leader.
Right.
They may do better under certain leaders based on how they are or their personality. I mean, I've experienced that, I would say 4 times. Whereas, they're like, oh, they're not a great employee. They don't, they're not, they don't do stuff on their reports. And then I get them and I'm just like, they're amazing. they're just phenomenal. And so you see that also, like you said, it also is on the leadership. And a reference can be a reference. They may have left with a bad taste in their mouth because, managers didn't like them. The manager just said, hey,
Personal.
it was very personal for them. And so I agree with you when it comes to there's certain things that you have to pull away from and stop doing and really get to know the person. When I do interviews, I don't ask them the same thing. I don't ask them where they've been, how they got here. I want to know about you. I want to know
Beautiful.
who you are, what you've done, how you do it. That's where you learn the true personality of somebody versus just doing a formal interview.
And have you noticed that it's right now, especially that we have to care for our people and then trying to save it as much as we can, and you get this maintenance guy that he showed you that he can do the job, right? But all of a sudden, 6 months in, he's overworked. He's been on call for so many hours. He already set some expectation from management, and all of a sudden he start dropping his performance. Management gets involved, and a lot of people make that mistake and bring Mike over to the office and they say, Mike, we've been noticing a drop on your performance. I'm gonna give you a write-up, and then if you don't, for the next quarter, if you don't do this, we're gonna fire you. What kind of motivation are you giving to this person with the empathy that you have for this person? So when it comes to leadership, you have to understand that there's an alternative. Yep. What if you bring Mike to the office and say, hey, buddy, I've seen a change. How are you doing? Are you okay? Is there anything I can do from our part as an organization to help you be back on how you used to be?
Exactly.
How different is that? Do you think the person in the first approach is going to be motivated to continue doing something great?
No.
Now that I'm at pressure, now if I don't continue doing my thing, I'm going to get fired?
And you want to know the why. And also,
Right.
again, if you're seeing the things that they're doing wrong, I'll give you an example. We had an employee who was struggling really bad with certain things when it came to the maintenance side. So I have a floater that goes around to each community, and he looks and see what our struggles are.
Okay.
So we decided, okay, let's do it as a team and show everybody exactly what everyone's doing wrong. Don't point it out to who they are, but just let's address it with everyone so that everyone's on the same page. But then we sat down with that person. We said, okay, what's going on? What is happening with you? Like, we've seen this happen when you were here, when you first started, and now you're doing this. Like, is it something personal that you're going through? Is it something at work that you just don't like that maybe we can change and talk about? And it was more personal. And, they made the decision to walk away because it was affecting them, in their job. And they wanted to walk away, and they decided to go somewhere else and not live. They don't live in the States anymore. But it was really honestly something personal. And it made a difference for him, he said, because we sat down and listened to what he had to say. We said, okay, how can we fix it? And then he made the choice on his own to say, okay, this wasn't the best time for me to move here. I needed to wait. So it really does make a huge difference.
That's beautiful, and that's perfect. So, and then again, a time when we have run into organizations, and we run into a maintenance person that says, instead of asking me, how is the service that you guys provide, the maintenance will ask me, what do the girls look like?
Oh, no.
Yes, and I've run into this, and like they come into the side, and they'll be like, hey, so you guys are the new cleaning company. What do the girls look like? So, well, is that person representing? I mean, I'm gonna say something bad about the organization. No, is that person in particular, that's asking me the wrong question. And I have walked back to the property manager, and I said, we're not gonna do any business while this person is on site, because I owe the safety to my team to be, in a place safe, not to have somebody that's gonna have the keys and access into an apartment that's empty to trying to bother one of our team members. So we run into that type of situation, but we know when we have a bad apple, and that happens. You have a person that is just bad, and then you need to get rid of them. Because that they can affect others.
Yes.
But then again, we also have people that we know we can help, and then help them flourish. So continue on with another question we have. What is the service what is the service that's provided that properties enjoy the most, and why? We already talked about the difficult ones.
What are the services that our properties, our managers and our organization?
Services that are provided to property management that properties enjoy the most.
That's a hard one. and I thought about it last night after you sent it to me.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not really the services that I would say. It's more the relationships that are built with the vendors. We have vendors that come in and, like, just like you, that, how are you doing? How's everything going? Is everything good? They follow up. They check in on us even when they're not even supposed to be on site. We have owners that come in sometimes and just say hi.
Okay.
They'll bring cookies sometimes. They host, events for us. But, I mean, I would say, honestly, it's not a service that's really enjoyed. It's more the relationship that's built.
Okay. I had another when we asked this question. They said coffee. When the coffee arrived, the coffee machines get filled up. We love it, the smell and everything else. So yeah, I know there is definitely some services that when you see it's already been given to you, it changes the mood.
Yeah.
It changes the aspect of the property. I think landscaping, when it's fresh done, it makes it all nice and pretty. I hate it when they're doing it so early in the morning. I hate that. I hate it. But aside from that, I think that's great. Relationships are definitely something. This is to our audience. And if you are a vendor, please, I cannot say this enough, don't neglect leasing agents.
Correct.
They are the future property managers. They are the gatekeepers. They can give you hell.
Yes.
If you're not nice to them.
Yes.
So please be nice to everyone in the office, from the porter all the way to the VP of the organization. Everyone is important.
Yep.
Okay, so a lot of them, they try not to talk to the leasing because they're not the decision makers, and they are on the clock. They need to speak to as many decision makers as they can. That's bad practice. Make sure that everyone is acknowledged.
Well, there's one company that we work, several, but there's one person I can say in particular. She always comes to the properties, and she always has this little bag of candy with her, and she gives it to everybody in the office. But then I don't see her often. I go to my sites, but I'm not always on the same particular site all the time. And she'll call me. She's like, "Hey, Aisha, I just stopped by, and want to say hi and see how everything's. I'm like, I don't even talk to you sometimes, but thank you. Like, I mean, it stops you in your tracks because, you know, they're not just looking and talking to the community. They're coming to us as well and asking how's their services, how are they doing, and that means a lot. And honestly, like I said, that relationship you start building with them is a big part of the organization for both vendors and the property management company.
For sure, 100%.
That for me, honestly, is the services that I enjoy the most. I mean, yes, the landscaping is amazing, and it does bring the curb appeal, and it brings the people in through the door. But if you don't have that relationship, it's hard to get by.
And there, I had this idea. We always thinking they need to come up with some hybrid blowers and stuff like that that doesn't make that much noise because it wakes everyone up at 8:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning doing the landscaping. And then last question, and this one has to do with a little bit of sales. So a sales question, how do you like to be approached when a service provider is trying to get your business?
For me, I don't want to know what you've done in the past. Like I said, it's just like an interview. I want to know who you are. If you're going to provide a service, how can you provide those services to me? How can you fix the corrections that I have right now? How can you address the concerns that I have that I'm bringing on the table? If you don't have the answers, then we're not the best match. But if you can provide me the answers and tell me, like, hey, here's what I can do for you. Here's the plan that I can put together. Here's what, I seen when I walk the community, and here's what I think you should, do on your site. That for me is the biggest thing. Pricing can go up and down, especially now prices have gone up astronomically, and you're just like, okay, what can I do to, try to get the right vendor in the door and not have to continuously go back and fix something. But honestly, for me is having a plan and knowing what the plan is and how they can fix something.
Awesome. So for our audience, again, if you are looking to do business with property management, make sure you understand what you're trying to fix, okay? And not just walk into the door and then do a sales pitch that means nothing, that you're just repeating yourself. I believe that you have to adapt because every property management, whether it's class A, B, C, they're all going to have different struggles. Yes. When it's a plus, luxury building, it's not going to have the same issues of a C property. So, you need to understand, even if you are the same company providing the same services to the same property management, and the property management has different type of properties, you need to understand that. When it comes to a garden style property, it's way different or different struggles than a high rise. Yes. And I tell them, you need to adapt immediately to who you're servicing. The demographic for both properties, garden style and in a high rise, two different things, two different expectations, two different set of people. A high rise, you're gonna see studios in 1-1, and a garden style, you're gonna see 2-2s and 3-2s. You're gonna see a playground on a garden style, and you're gonna see a dog station, on a high rise.
Correct.
So you need to understand, exactly everything that goes in place. So if you are working and you're actually doing your rounds, you need to change your sales pitch from the high rise, and then you have to become another person when you go
Yes.
to a garden style or see a property. You have to understand the struggles of each one of them.
And I also think for me, with vendors that I've known for years, like having someone come to you every single week and harassing you or emailing you consistently, I'm just like, I get to the point, and I'm being honest.
Tell him.
I get to the point where I'm just like, I just put it in junk. I don't even want to talk to you at this point because you've harassed me so much. I will come to. I've learned about your services. If I need it, I will come to you. Mm-hmm. We will come to you. We promise you, we will come to you. But if you consistently harass and email every single day, did you get my email? Did you get my email? I'm like, I got your email 30 times. So, but then there's again, it takes time out of our day to have to read those emails. It takes time out of our day if you come to us every single day. Especially our managers are so busy now at this point. Again, because society has changed, the demands are so different. We don't always have the time to sit down and talk. But when you come to us, like you said, know what you're looking at, know what you're talking about, know what the struggles are for those communities, ask those questions, and then come to us, because going and coming to us every single day it's not working.
It's not
It's
working.
not working.
It's not gonna work for many.
No.
I feel bad for some of the organizations that keep asking them for to have a quota that they have to visit X amount of people a
Yes.
day and all that.
Yes.
I think that's bad business and bad practice. I don't believe in that. But however, I encourage, and again, you're listening to this. I have said it many times. Get involved with the association, the
Yes.
apartment association that's in your city. They will teach you how to behave. They will teach you how to do things. You make connections in there. Don't don't sell anything while you're in there. Just be present, be useful, help others, provide volunteer, in the organization. And then get to know, ask questions around, get yourself the knowledge that you need. So if you're new into the multifamily and you have done, let's just say, healthcare, there's a lot to learn before you start, reaching out. Some people don't like to invest the time to understand the business. I highly suggest it. Highly suggest it. I've been in the business for 17 years. I pay my dues. I know I made the mistakes that you have said, but now I know, and thankfully I can share my experiences, and tell others how to do certain things so they can be more successful when it comes to this. Just be gentle, not to harass people because that's definitely gonna close the door on you. When people say, "Oh, you have to just keep trying and follow up," they just it's a yes that they don't know yet, dude. Promise you, if you continue doing this, you're definitely gonna get blocked.
Correct. And like you said, be yourself.
Right.
Be yourself. I sometimes you get the fakeness, and you're just like, no, this is not for me. But just honestly, be yourself. And again, we will look for you. I've gone to so many companies. I'm like, hey, do you do this service? Okay, I met you at the BAA like a year ago, but I need you now. Something like that. It really does make a difference. And they're not constantly coming after you for business. You're coming to them. Our job is to come to you. Your job is to let us know what you can provide, and here's what you can do for us. And then it's our job to come to you.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we went over all the questions and some more. So I think that we have plenty of information for our audience when it comes to property management. Get to learn a little bit more through me sharing experiences. They get a little bit of understanding when it comes to service providers, and then the service providers get to learn more about somebody like yourself that has been in the industry for 21 years, that holds a high rank position, for because you already pay your dues and you're going through every single. Have you ever done maintenance?
I have done
Oh,
maintenance.
really?
I've learned. Actually, my second company I was with, they had do us do reverse roles, and
Oh,
so
awesome.
we would have to punch, we'd have to paint, we had to clean, we had to learn how to do the ACs with the guys. So we actually learned how to do maintenance.
How cool is that?
So and now my husband is in maintenance, so
Oh, really?
so he, I do learn a lot, and I learn
Okay.
a lot from my guys. If I ask them to do something, even now to this day, if we have to get ready for an inspection, I'm out there with them.
Awesome.
So it's not just doing the office job all the time. It's being also by the side of my maintenance team.
That's amazing. Aisha, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us. This is gonna be great for everybody. This podcast is gonna come up next week, so we're gonna do some editing and some stuff. Again, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. This has been amazing. Please follow us on YouTube. We also on Spotify and iTunes. You can follow up. You can also actually also put a comment if there's questions or anybody that any question that you wanna hear from us. We definitely gonna hear you out. And thank you again for tuning in and stay tuned for the next one coming up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.